perspective, that magical phenomenon of the universe. I want your secrets. For instance, why does this mug look bigger than my head when it's closer to you? You'll find all these answers and more in a video called Finding Perspective, a video where we find, then lose, then find again our perspective.
Perspective can mean a few different things. It could mean the point of view. For instance, we're looking at our family dog Titus here, and this is a bird's eye view where we're looking down at him. And here in this video clip, we are looking up at him. This is called a worm's eye view. These are just two different examples of point of view.
But most of the time when people are talking about perspective, they're talking about linear perspective. And linear perspective is the geometric method of representing the apparent diminishing of scale as the distance from the object to the viewer increases. And basically, that means that the further away you are from the object, that the closer together and the smaller it appears. And it actually does that in a very mathematical way. So in order to understand how to draw in perspective, I'm going to show you how to draw in 1-point perspective. Now, for those of you who have been with me for a while, this is from my How to Warm Up video. So if you look, there are a few key points that you need to understand in order to be able to draw 1-point perspective. And the first thing is that you need a horizon line, which is this line right here, the line where the eye level is. Another thing that you need is a vanishing point. In 1-point perspective, you only have one vanishing point. In 2-point perspective, you would have two, and so on. For this one, this is a 1-point perspective, and so this is the vanishing point. And you can see along here that I have drawn a lot of different lines. These are all reference lines that I use in order to create this old city scene. And here you see a figure, and she is walking down the street, and along the street there are buildings of various different sizes, and all of these buildings are following the same lines towards the vanishing point, the same rules. Down below, these lines are coming up this way. The other lines that you will see, it will be perpendicular to the horizon line right along here, or it will be parallel to the horizon line. So now we are going to make a simple scene that will have 1-point perspective in it. For this lesson, you will need some paper or your sketchbook, something to draw with, and a ruler or a straight edge. It doesn't really matter what kind of ruler you have. I really like to use clear rulers so that I can see underneath, so it just helps me make sure that my ruler is exactly where I want it to be. So in order to draw our scene with 1-point perspective, I'm going to try and make sure that this line is parallel to the top of the page, and this will be my horizon line. We can do things, we can draw a sun, we can draw some clouds in the distance, we could draw some mountains just to create some interest in the scene, and some hills in the background. And along here, we're going to decide where our vanishing point is, and that will determine the angle of the lines that we draw. Now to show you, we could put a vanishing point here, or here, or here, or anywhere in between. I'm going to put one here, and now I'm going to draw a road. This is a very simple drawing, and from here you can take your drawing and you can do a lot more with it. So there is our road. Now along this road, we could draw some trees. I'm going to make some marks, some reference marks for myself, so you can see how things diminish in size the further away it gets. This is why drawing in pencil is helpful, because your reference marks can be erased. Alright, so this is the top and bottom of where our trees will be. I'm just going to go ahead and make some simple evergreen trees. And the distance would be getting closer and closer. So go ahead and take your scene and play with the different things that you can do with this perspective. Here's another piece of paper, and I'm going to show you another example of one-point perspective, but this time our horizon line or our vanishing point is going to be right in the middle, just so you can see how you can play with this. What we're going to do is we are going to just sketch out some squares. Go ahead and make them parallel to the paper, so we don't have to do any angles here. Basically, this is going to be a scene, a bird's eye view of a cityscape. Now that you have your squares drawn and you can cover the entire paper with this, now it's time to draw the lines. The lines are going to seem pretty radical, but go ahead and observe when you're far away from things, or even when you look up on buildings or look up on trees, and observe how the lines really do narrow. So I'm going to start at the top here, the top left hand side. I'm going to line up my vanishing point with this point over here. And I'm going to go ahead and draw that line now. That line won't show because we're actually going to have this building here. But I will go ahead and just draw it in so you can see what it looks like. Okay. There. So you can see it better. Now this line is almost going to be, it seems like it's almost going to be a straight up and down line. But that is still a very important line to draw. Coming over here. Go ahead if you want and draw some smaller buildings in here to create some variety. I'm going to keep on drawing these lines and I'll see you back in just a minute. Now that you have all of these guidelines in, you can go ahead and add details like windows. With windows, you would do exactly the same thing. You would come in and you would draw the tops and the bottoms of the windows. And then you would go ahead and draw on your one-point perspective lines, your vanishing lines, like this. Only you would carry that all the way down. Now in architecture, the lines are very straight, but in nature, things are really straight and it can look a little stiff if this is what you're seeing as these straight lines everywhere. So after I've drawn those lines, I like to come through and I like to sketch on them a little bit, especially if it's a picture of something that's supposed to be older and has some age and wear to it. However, skyscrapers would have very straight lines. And if straight lines is what you like, then even begin by drawing those squares with your ruler. This is a type of picture that you could continue to create all the way throughout your picture. You could even draw larger squares. And of course, this larger square would be the building that you were closest to of all. In fact, it might even be fun to draw a couple feet, as though somewhere were standing on the precipice of this building looking down into the city. So go out, draw, and have fun.